And we'll be back from the break. It's 8:30 in the morning. We are here to give you more business updates from the other sectors of the economy, which include sports and entertainment. But before that, the journey to kickstart your investment journey should kick off now. If you haven't kickstarted off one, use the USSD code *29# and use your NIN to register with Zabu. And after registering with Zabu, you will be fit to kickstart off your journey in the next 24 hours. With a minimum of 15,000 Ugandan shillings, Zabu says, my money, my future. So that means 15,000 Ugandan shillings can help you shape your future. Every day, deposit and invest with 15,000 Ugandan shillings. Grow your investment journey, and you can select a preferred maturity bond between 3 to 6 years or more than that particular space. So Zabu says, we are a platform for you to at least help you invest in those particular financial market space in the country. The markets open at 8:15 a.m. That's a 8:15 in the morning, and close at 3:15 p.m. a 3:15 in the afternoon, East African Standard Time. And please note that these markets are only closed on public holidays and during the weekends. And now, with that, let's head to sports business and see what is making headlines from that sector. Sports business, we start with the Owooma and Okwiri fight, which flopped. Now the organizers have vowed to bounce back even stronger after this flop of an event. The longer-awaited middleweight boxing bout between Uganda's Prize Kasim, the Dream Owooma, and Kenya's two-time Olympian Rayton Boom Boom Okwiri did not happen as planned. A combination of ill factors led to the abrupt disruption of the planned contest, dubbed Rumble in Kampala. A heavy downfall moments before the bout. There was swift change of venue from the Lugogo Cricket Oval. Then issues to do with security, late payments to boxers, and sheer bad luck account for the sad tales of whatever happened during the same situation. And of course, this is some of the other key cases happening in Uganda sports business, is that the fact that besides the late payments, there is something to do with the venues always being interchanged relatively. And of course, the Owooma versus Okwiri bout was meant to be the biggest on the night, but sadly, the fight did not unfold as planned. As the fight promoter, that is Stephen Sembuya Maguru of 12 Sports Rounds Promotion, has since issued an apology through media releases to different stakeholders, and he apparently came out to vow that they will bounce back stronger than ever. Now, the management of 12 Sports Production Promotion apologized to the entire boxing fraternity, including the boxers, the Uganda Professional Boxing Commission, the fans, then the other sponsors who were attached to the same cause. And then they've also promised to compensate the fans who had already paid to access the venue and did not enjoy or live to feel the bout that was slated to be early during the festive season. So you can easily see some of the other issues that the entire sports fraternity in Uganda is still facing. And of course, this takes us back to the other sports bill that is highly expected to tackle some of the same issues here, because issues to do with some of events from the sports fraternity being organized and then they fail to occur or they fail to happen. It goes back to the sponsors who've put in a lot of money. Then you look at the fans who have apparently paid for their tickets, and yet they don't experience nothing. So this is something that we need to work on as the country. And of course, the National Council of Sports should as well take a huge step towards changing this entire drama. Lastly, from sports business, we switch our eyes to the international scene, as the transfer market is slated to open on the 1st of January. That is the winter transfer window in Europe. But English clubs are already making huge boss moves. The other time we saw how Christopher Nkunku will be joining Chelsea in the summer of next year. Now this time on, Cody Gakpo, a Netherlands player, the Dutch player, who was amongst the key highlights of the 2022 World Cup before the Dutch got knocked out by Argentina in the quarterfinals in Qatar. Apparently, Cody Gakpo has reached an agreement with Liverpool, as the PSV Eindhoven forward will now join Liverpool this particular winter transfer window. Liverpool reached an agreement to sign Cody Gakpo for a fee which is between the region of £35 million and £45 million from PSV, according to what the club announced. Now, PSV, on a statement on Monday, said PSV and Liverpool FC have reached an agreement on the proposed transfer of Cody Gakpo. Now, Liverpool's rivals Manchester United were eagerly eyeing Gakpo and were interested in Gakpo in the summer, when they instead signed Anthony from Ajax. But reports suggested they were considering a move for the Netherlands international in the upcoming January transfer window. Now, Gakpo's stock increased at the World Cup with 3 goals in 5 appearances before the Netherlands were eventually knocked out on penalties against Argentina on the quarterfinals. Now, before PSV released their statement, it was understood that Liverpool were in advanced talks with the Dutch side about the transfer as they looked to bring in another attacking player following long-term injuries to Luis Diaz and Diogo Jota. And of course, with the fact that they are yet to wait for goals coming in from Darwin Núñez, at least if they have Cody Gakpo and Darwin Núñez, they will have different sources of goals in there for Liverpool, the master side team. Well, of course, the transfer window is still coming up in January. And of course, many teams are looking at strengthening their clubs following the fact that the World Cup came to an end. So there are new players to pick up from there, those who performed ably, and of course the teams are willing to splash the money. And of course, also as of yesterday, when Chelsea was winning Bournemouth, one of the key people who actually noticed, as we are going to be switching out to the entertainment news, was Michael B. Jordan, who is among the investors in Bournemouth, was in attendance at Stamford Bridge as his team apparently lost to Chelsea. So you can see American superstars are investing in the English Premier League. The other key celebrity shareholder in the English Premier League goes to LeBron James, who has shares in Liverpool FC in England. So those are some of the other key sports activities coming in from there. But of course, as the transfer window comes to an open in Europe, we shall be giving you all those details here on Sports Business, and to keep you up to speed with which player is joining which club, at what amount of money, which fee, how much will they earn. Do remember also Cristiano Ronaldo is also expected to make a move in January. There is a Saudi Arabian club that is in move to giving him a club record fee or a player record fee, which is actually going to be one of the most expensive signings that you would ever see for a player who is currently a free agent as of now. Now, that is it for Sports Business this morning. And right now, with Sports Business coming to the end, let's cross over to Berige Andrew to give us the latest of what is making headlines from the world of entertainment in business. Andrew, good morning.
Good morning, Jerome. How are you? How are you today?
A bit weak,
Well,
but we hustle hard.
well, I mean, you talked about celebrities investing into the Premiership. I got some attention regarding that. You talked about Michael Jordan, LeBron James.
Michael B. Jordan,
Yeah.
the movie actor.
Yeah. If I may ask, how much could LeBron James be like? It's like, okay, in terms of the net worth. Because I'm trying to think, what does it take to invest in a club into the Premiership? Oh, it may not be Premiership, but Europe, investing in football Europe.
No, you got to realize most of these companies are quite open when it comes to giving the public offers to buy shares. And players like LeBron James in the NBA have made some good money from the sports, the endorsements, and they always look out for different sports where they can invest in their money. Look at players like, also when you look at golf, Tiger Woods has been investing in golf clubs. So most of them want to invest still in sport, but away from their countries, because they do believe such teams will still make some money for them when they are hitting retirement. So once the shares are actually growing, you can easily get the team. Also, Ryan Reynolds, who is also a movie actor, apparently has a team in the United States. So a football team, though in the US they do call it soccer. So it's a soccer team coming in there. So that clearly shows you that they've started picking investment ideas in sports and in football.
Okay, That's pretty interesting. And actually, I'm going to be following those personalities, those celebrities this year. I want to compare their network and see whether it's really, whether their investment is really coming out regarding when they invest back
In
into sports.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Joram, for that. That's
All right.
a very interesting insight regarding that. And now, getting straight to the business taking this morning, I just give you a little brief highlights of what we should expect. And we shall be looking at yesterday, actually, there was an auction that was taking place. For those of you who remember a movie called The Wizard of Oz, that was back in 1939, a very old, very, very old movie. Of course, I wasn't born at the time, and none of you watching was born at that time. Of course, that glass, the hourglass, which was into that movie, was put onto auction. And of course, we shall get to realize that the person that took that the highest bidder, let me say that, paid $495,000 and purchased that hourglass. You know, that was a glass that was representing an hour, where the wish that would actually tell you that, hey, you have less than an hour to leave. So, I mean, it was a very captivating movie way back then in 1939, and now the glass is being put onto auction, and the highest bidder came on board. So that's the imagery you can see right there regarding the movie, how it was like. You know, the different characters, I mean, that participated in that movie. You know, we are trying to see the behind the scenes of how really that really came into play. That's the Wizard of Oz back in the days, you know. So I'm trying to imagine for those of the people that used to sit down and really follow up that particular movie, you know, about a wizard, wicked wizard somewhere trying to do quite all kinds of stuff. And maybe I would request my producer to also show us the glass, how that glass really looked like. And of course, the imagery we're going to be looking at is a replica of that glass. So you can see, I believe that you're familiar with that particular concept of trying to make an hour. If somebody tells you that by the time that those small particles go through of course, leave one side to get to the other side, definitely something will happen to you. So that's how the glass looks like. It was auctioned for 495. You know, bidders came with quite lots of amounts of money, but the highest bidder paid 495,000 to walk away with that glass. Now, according to a report here, we see that the signature Wizard of Oz prop recently sold for $495,000. Heritage Auctions, the organization that's known for auctioning off collectibles. So this is the organization that was responsible for that particular auction, Heritage Auctions. And it's not the first time we are seeing products made from movies being auctioned for the public to come and really buy them. And last year, if you remember that, if you're familiar with that movie called The Nightmare on Elm Street, for those of you that was back, that was 2001, where we saw the likes of Fred Krueger, you know, Jason, quite so many. Yeah, that house was put on auction last year, and of course bidders came. And I remember actually the person who walked away with that. It was about it was $1 million and above regarding that. So you get to see that movies have this power whereby they can actually act as a potential marketing strategy. I know you're familiar with that, but then it's not just about marketing. Some people go beyond just, let me say, trying to put the latest phones into the movies. They go past that and go ahead and put some of these products into auction, and people come actually, they bid and they buy these products, and it makes them feel good, saying that, you know, I'm owning this aspect, and this was from the movie, you know, from a famous movie, and that is value in itself, you know, and owning that product makes you really much valuable. The piece played a central role in the movie, which the Wicked Witch threatens. Of course, threatens Dorothy, the character in the movie, saying with that hourglass in hand, you see that? Trying to say that? That's how much longer you got to live. I mean, that was one of the ways, and she used to scare people out there. And of course, this was a movie that was produced by MGM, one of the very oldest movie companies in Hollywood, trying to come up with that drama. And quite lots of people would actually go into the theaters to come and watch it. You know, ticket sales used to be there. I mean, of course, there aren't so much of them like that. So people really responded positively, and that explains why somebody is willing to pay $495,000 to purchase that piece. That is, they call it a classic piece. You know, very, very, very expensive. It's like owning gold. When they tell you that all is gold, it really comes back. It really plays into this. Now, over the course of the scene, the camera zooms on the hourglass and shows that Dorothy's friend's scarecrow. If of course we need to look into that movie, like our focus is on that the glass. Telling a teen man and probably man are running out of time to save her from the wicked witch. You get that? So that is very, very, very interesting. Of course, while many versions of the Atlas were created for the film, the one that sold on 17th was made out of wood and of course papier mache. Yeah, the material. It was used in the climactic scene where the witch holds it above head in an act of defiance against Dorothy and of course her friends as they try to escape. So I'm just trying to give you the different versions. Some of course this was the first auction. The first auction was actually already put there regarding that. So this has been like the second auction trying to review this. And actually what you just saw was a replica that was designed by someone. Maybe I would request the producer to just have a look at that just one more time. We'll take a look at that replica of that glass, of the witch glass, which they used to tell time regarding that. So, according to the Heritage Auctions, the hourglass Gothic frame was created by studio artisans, who included winged post patch on top of its spiral cones, which of course some of the materials that were used to make that replica. The glass was also hand blown and filled with red glitter. The glass was filled with red glitter. I'll request my producer to actually take us on that glass and we take a little bit one more time and we take a look at that red glitter later for display purposes. Yes, very, very interesting that aspect. So it's exactly how it really appeared into that movie. Trying to portray out the hour, trying to tell you that, hey, this is the time we're left with. It's like a timeline counting down. Through that narrow neck, as you can see it very clearly there. That piece you see there, a replica, $495,000. That's what the highest bidder paid to get that. So they have it already. I believe they're feeling good about it. And bidding that, don't be surprised that that person can actually go ahead and sell this piece for $1 million US. Yes. And it's going to happen. I'll remind you that day. That's what they do because it carries the value. This is a 1939 movie. Everybody would be wondering what kind of content was being aired out in 1939 for Christ's sake. So if I have the evidence of that content they used to air out in 1939, that is money in itself. Unlike in Africa, we don't really treasure much some of these aspects, but in the developed world, they really take these aspects very special. So you're owning well uncountable regarding that. But all we credit it to the movie, of course, The Witch of Oz, and of course, being a big player regarding that. Okay, now away from that, away from the witch, from that, the hourglass. Now we head to some anticipations for 2023, as of course. This year has been a little tricky for Hollywood. I've talked about this so many times. I'm not going to over-explain it. I believe now you're familiar with what is really going on. Now, what is happening is that, what do we anticipate for next year? We are looking at possible mergers and acquisitions come 2023. Now, here we are looking at companies which are not really performing well, and they are likely to be acquired by other mega companies as a way of cutting costs and improving. And one of the companies which we are looking at is actually AMC Studios, which is likely to underface the merger and acquisitions. The studio has been increasingly viewed as an acquisition target after ending its popular series, The Walking Dead. Wow. That's in November, and forecasting company wide layoffs and cuts to every operating area. Now, recently, AMC still laid off workers. That one we talked about that. Lots of workers, we saw the CEO stepping down. So it stands a major target that might be, we could see one of the big companies like Universal coming and taking over this particular company. So if you see that happen, don't be shocked. It is just anticipations for 2023. Remember, they are trying to get into the streaming platform, the streaming market. But they're not really competing favorably as compared to the streaming giants who are already into the game, like Disney, Netflix, because they have about 10 million subscribers, and that's little compared to the market, which is dominated by by giants that are having over 230 plus million subscribers. So you need to find that that's a little bit tricky for them. Now, still looking about AMC, we see that executive chairman, that's James Dolan, explained the cuts by saying that the company's streaming ventures, which include AMC Plus, Apple TV, and Shudder, hadn't been able to balance out the impact of the cord-cutting losses. That's the company which owns cable networks, that's AMC, IFC, and Sanders TV AMC networks, and has also said it will take $300 million to $400 million in write-downs on content coming from a mix of owned and licensed content, which will no longer be in active rotation of the company's linear digital platforms. So you get to realize the projections regarding if AMCs to create really fresh new content, they will need about 300 to 400 million US dollars. That is quite a lot of money, I'll be honest with you. I don't know how they're going to go about that. If they would consider to be taken over by a certain company, I believe still that would be a very right idea to do that. Okay, now away from AMC, another company that is possible to undergo merger and acquisition is Disney. Surprisingly, Disney is on the list. We've known Disney to be one of the companies that they take over. They took over Pixar, they took over Marvel. They own. They went into partnership with Sony, regarding issues of Spider-Man. So they have always used that as a tactic to be on top of the game, to be on top of the business empire. But surprisingly, the Hollywood Reporter is putting them onto the possible lists of companies that might face mergers and acquisitions. Maybe one thing I need you to understand, on this list, some of these companies which are onto here, some are potential companies to take over. Like in terms of not being taken over, there is a difference. So Disney may not be taken over, but it can take over. It can also be possible. It can merge with another company, struggling company. But I'll be happy if Disney really took over AMC. It would be a great partnership. Now, among entertainment companies, Disney is the 800, and I say it's the 801 big gorilla in the room, unlike all its competitors with lineages that trace back to cinema's golden age. Disney is the one ratio that never sold itself. Yes, that's a very perfect statement. It acquired other business. Suddenly, with CEO Bob Iger, the architect of some of its biggest deals, that is Pixar, which I told you, Marvel, Lucasfilms, and a product of another Capital Cities, that's Capital Cities ABC. But unlike Universal NBC, that's Fox, ABC, CBS, Paramount Pictures, MGM, of course the list is endless, Disney was always a buyer, but not a seller. So you get to see that it's also being part of this. So the question is, could that era be over as we speak lately? No, we're trying to understand, could that era for Disney to take over other companies be over? Does Disney right now have the potential to really gain back those days of glory, how it used to be like? Recently we got to realize that when Bob Iger came to take over the company, it had already made a loss of about 1.5 billion US dollars. That's quite a lot of money coming out of a movie company, because that's really, you find that actually that's profit which can be obtained from a movie grossing big. And now imagine now the entire profit is swept away just like that, because most of these movies which now like Disney produces, they have a budget of about 300 million US dollars. Oh, okay, it may not go above 500 million US dollars. But now imagine you're losing money which is not even equivalent to your capital that you spend in. So that means the 1.5 shall include the money which you made in the previous year, also the previous profits. That is quite very tricky for that. Now, still looking at Disney, we see that as far-fetched it may have seemed just a few short years ago. Of course, we are likely to experience, of course, the Disney sell. Probably it might seem a little bit crazy, but let us see how it really goes about. Okay, now finally on the list, on the top 3 possible mergers and acquisitions, there is the E1 Entertainment. Yes, E1 Entertainment is one of the very probable movie companies. Less than 3 years at Hasbro, the toy giant is looking to unlock the film and TV production and distribution unit. JP Morgan and Center View Partners are leading the auction, of course, for E1, which has a film and TV library with around 6,500 titles and a branded film and scripted TV business that produces and finances content, of course, like Dungeons and Dragons. Very interesting. Honor Among Thieves, The Woman King, Yellow Jacket. The Woman King actually was is among the top 15 movies that are really trending globally into the different cinemas, and E1 Entertainment. A big applause to that company for producing that. Remember, it's also under Hasbro. Yeah, you're so familiar with Hasbro. Of course, when you watch these movies and you see the Hasbro, yeah, E1 is under Hasbro. So that's something that is really very, very remarkable. But unfortunately, it's likely to be a part of the companies that might be taken over by a bigger company, which could come and take over the company. They become one and they become distributors of their movies in that particular aspect. Mergers and acquisitions are good. I believe if Disney didn't take over Marvel, Marvel wouldn't be where it is today. So, never know if E1 is taken over by a company like Paramount Pictures, Universal Pictures, Warner Brothers Discovery. I mean, there is still quite a chance for it to go to the top notch and be at its level best. It's all for the good, not for the worst, regarding what we are discussing today, the mergers and acquisitions. That's what we have for you for the business and entertainment this morning. Just a brief highlight. Of course, we reviewed an aspect of the Wizard of Oz Hourglass prop selling at $495,000. That's the money which the highest bidder paid. And then we came down to seeing the possible mergers and acquisitions in Hollywood come 2023. What do we expect from that? At this particular time, back to you, John.
All right. Thank you very much, Andrew, for that particular update this morning. And of course, Andrew, always here to give us the latest in business and entertainment. Till tomorrow, he will be here with more updates. But later on today in the show, he will be joining us back at 9:30 for the SMB on ground. Stick around. After the break, I'll be returning with the Business Insight.